All right, ladies and gentlemen, so here are some oyster eggs. So you can kind of see that cell division is occurring already. So now roughly it's been like a half an hour to 45 minutes after fertilization. I'm using my phone here, so it's a little bit shaky, so I apologize about that. But hold on one sec, I gotta turn the camera around. So wow, my hair is getting long, man. But so in terms of going back to the science of everything, so it is kind of branching back really quick on that microscope scene we just saw. So you know how I mentioned that we're seeing cell division roughly 35 to 45 minutes after fertilization? So shellfish larval development is really fast, and there is a reason for it if you think about it. So for those who've gone clamming, collected oysters, collected scallop, mussels, you usually don't find just one. And if you're finding just one, you're not gonna have a good dinner. Two, that area is probably being picked clean already by somebody else who knew the spot already. Get off my rock. Or something happened where the shellfish in that area died, or et cetera, et cetera. But long story short, usually shellfish are grouped together, and that's not by accident. Shellfish in their larval stage, and when they're going out of their larval stage in nature, are going to look for favorable conditions, and usually once one finds a favorable, a spot where they want to settle down, usually more will find that spot, et cetera, et cetera. Larval development, going back to that really quick. So it's really fast. And like I said, just before, usually because shellfish are found in groups, it makes sense that it happens really quick. So clams, oysters, scallops, other bivalves are what's known as broadcast spawners. So as we can see in the spawning video, all gamete release and fertilization and development is all external. And because shellfish are found in groups and are consistently filtering no matter what, and if I'm a little shellfish baby, I want to get as far away from mom and dad as quick as I can. So if I develop really quick, I can kind of swim away and hopefully not get eaten by mom and dad. Normally the ocean currents, when they're spawning, are going to whisk all the shellfish larvae away from the parents, but in areas where that's not always the case, they want to be able to swim away. So just kind of going through the life cycle. So you'll have fertilization and development within 35 to 45 minutes. You will start to see cell division, and within 24 hours you'll have a free swimming larvae. That doesn't really look like a clam and oyster, that we all know and love. And for this particular example, I'm going to be talking about oyster larvae and clam larvae. We'll differentiate between the two, just because it's the shellfish right now that this particular hatchery deals with. Like I said, you'll have fertilization within 35 to 45 minutes, a free swimming, cell division within 24 hours of free swimming larvae. And then after 2 weeks of them being in that larval form, they'll undergo a second metamorphosis in which they'll lose their swimming abilities. Clam and oyster at that point in time will both develop a foot. However, the kind of function of that foot will have similarities but differences. Clams, when they undergo that metamorphosis, will drop out of the water column, develop the foot like you normally would with an adult clam, and they'll use that foot to kind of crawl along the bottom, find some suitable sand they want to dig in, and bury themselves in. And from there, they will remain roughly within the area for their entire life. As we know and seen with adult clams, they have that foot that allows them to kind of give them a little bit of motion. Whereas compared to an oyster, they'll develop a foot during the metamorphosis process, and they're going to crawl along the bottom or on a dock, on a bulkhead, and they're going to look for something hard to cement to. And so once they find something that they will like, they're going to cement to it and stay there for the rest of their lives. They only have that foot for a very set time period. So if they happen to undergo metamorphosis in nature in areas that are not favorable for their development, they're unfortunately going to be smothered and not going to make it. But yeah, so after that point, they'll become, you know, eventually the clam and oyster that we all know and love to eat. And most shellfish undergo similar life cycles, you know, well, fertilization is external, they have a larvae form, and they go into metamorphosis and become the shellfish that we all know and love. The one other thing I do want to mention before signing out here is going back to the larval stage of the shellfish. When they're that small, because they're microscopic when they're first born. Obviously, if you can see them, if we need to see them underneath a microscope, they need to be really small. And to kind of put that size into perspective, 1 micron is 1/1000th of a millimeter. And when oyster and clam eggs are released and the larvae undergo that development, they are 40 microns. So that kind of tells you that there are also a bunch of other microscopic organisms that would love to get their hands and claws, paws, mandibles, cilia, what have you, on shellfish larvae. So that swimming ability during the larval life cycle also helps them kind of run away from predators, as well as find their food and find the microscopic algae that can be potentially swimming as well. Any questions on anything? Feel free to ask. Stay tuned for further videos on the larval rearing process. Unfortunately, because of my scheduling, I'm personally not going to be able to take microscope samples of this current batch of oysters. However, if you go on the wonderful resources that we have through our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, search Cornell Cooperative Extension Marine Program. We have plenty of videos and resources on larval shellfish, as well as some videos of baby oysters and what they look like. But any other questions, like I said, feel free to ask. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye.